Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening, Amit. How are you doing? All right. I know it's been less than a week since the Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. Plus, I was traveling and not in a good shape to talk after that. But I thought it'll be good to kind of do the recap like I always do. So it was a beatdown, as we say. So I want to give the floor to you, and then I'll come back and ask you a few questions and chime in as well. So give me your thoughts. I know I can see the smile coming uh, through the
Oh, it
video.
was a very, very satisfactory beatdown. I was not one of those who was complaining that it was not a close game. I was fine with the beatdown because I was so sick and tired of hearing all those things. And I'm a very petty sports fan. I mean, they're a competition to my Patriots and they're good. Though the whole penalties and the reps kind of many calls going their way was rubbing me the wrong way. So I was definitely no fan of AC, so I was very glad to see them lose. And I was waiting for them to come back, like many people were. It never happened. Kind of similar to the Super Bowl versus Brady's Tampa Bay.
Yep. Well, that was one too. And again, a lot of people were also looking. There were two parallels that people were talking about. One was the Super Bowl against Tampa, where they I think got destroyed 31-9, and the other
Hmm.
one was where it was turned in our favor, which was 28-3, which the Patriots somehow won that game against the Falcons. So a lot of people had hopes of if anybody could do it, Mahomes could do it, and it was 34-0 this game when
Hmm.
I think it was 2 minutes, two and change left in the third quarter. So you pretty much had like 17 minutes for Mahomes to
Hmm.
pad his stats and things like that. And his passer rating until that time at the 34 nothing was a paltry 7.5. So
Hmm.
not something you would say. It's almost like I did see some memes on Twitter about him wearing the Mac Jones jersey. I mean, I think Mac Jones was probably better, but I think let's quickly get down to it. That some of the highlights in the game is that the defensive dominance of the Eagles. They sacked Mahomes 6 times, and interestingly, they didn't blitz. So it's a
Hmm.
four-man rush, two interceptions. One was a pick six. The other one was pretty much was a gift given to the 10 yard line. Yes.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on the Eagles defense as a whole, as an outfit?
But they're dominating big time. I mean, that's very obvious. And it was like continuous. It's like I think KC didn't have a first. Well, they had a first down on their first pass of the game, and after that, they didn't have a first down for I don't know, maybe almost 3 quarters or something like that. Like some ridiculous. At least through the first half, they didn't have a first down. After that, at least. I mean, that's domination. That's not like good defense. That's like utter domination. And I think what happens is, when teams can successfully with the front four get the quarterback beyond a point that gets, however good the quarterback is, it gets to their head. It affects their footwork, like that kind of thing as well. So Mahomes had a pretty sloppy game. He didn't play well at all. I think yes, his offensive line was bad and all that, but he missed a few throws. His weapons they could have caught. I mean, Hopkins had a catch that he should have caught. Kelsey had at least two catches, and those came when the game was still, you know, not over. And maybe Casey gets a first down here and there, and they mount a drive, and maybe it's a very different dynamic to the game. Because I'll say this: on offense, I mean, Eagles did what they had to do. I think Hurts was good, but they were, in my opinion, trying to run the ball too much. And so many drives, they were like first down run stuffed, second down run stuffed, and then third down, Jalen Hurts would get the first down or would pass for a first down. And they were living a bit dangerously, I would say. So luckily it didn't matter because the defense was so dominating. But I thought if the lead was a little bit shorter, the way Eagles played a bit too conservative, it could have hurt them. Now, in the end, it didn't matter at all. But I was very happy to see Casey lose. And one thing I mean, other than the pettiness of just fandom, I will say this: I think we were robbed of a much better matchup. I think someone like the Bills would have been a stiffer challenge. I think for the Eagles, I think their offensive line is better. Josh Allen has played much better than Mahomes the whole year. Mahomes had a pretty okay year. I mean, he was still
Yeah,
above
and
average.
Josh did win the MVP. So, whether that was another controversy, whether he or Lamar should have gotten. But I think to your point about Eagles, the Eagles offensive, again, Barkley only had about 57 rushing yards. So he didn't really have a great performance. I mean, he did make a very important catch, but Jalen threw for two, rushed for one, got the MVP award. I mean, I think there was one which was a signature play where the Eagles went for the jugular. I mean, they got the ball back and they took a shot, and that was a 46-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. And but I think the biggest turning point of the game, and to your point that you were talking about where Kelsey did drop a pass and things like that. But the turning point was that pick six from Cooper DeJean, who gave the Eagles a 17-0 lead. Until then, 10-0. Then on the other side, if that drive could have definitely continued, I think. But I do think that, I mean, they seem completely out of sync, like you said, right? I mean, a four-man rush didn't give Mahomes much time to settle down. I did hear something by some of the experts on TV, like Mark Schiller on TV a couple of days ago, where you're saying, at some point in chances like this, you have to learn how to play quarterback. And I think even when Brady played against the Giants, it was a four-man rush that got him. And he was not that great. I mean, he only threw for 82 yards and things like that. But when it mattered, he did put the team on his shoulders, and then the Patriots did go up before, the Manning magic happen. But the point is, once you have like a quarterback like a Brady or a Manning or a Breeze, when you have a pocket passer, I think maybe that's much better way because Mahomes was trying to run, and every time he was get caught in the puddle there. So
Yeah.
I think to
Yeah, go ahead, finish it.
no, finish. I'm done.
I think the Eagles back end was pretty good too. I think they had some good coverage. I mean, it's not like it was a jailbreak every time. I think there were times when Mahomes was dropping back and then couldn't immediately see anyone open. And I mean, they're smart guys. I mean, they obviously would have tried a quick passing game given the pass rush, but I don't think anyone was getting open quickly. And I think for that, the credit goes to like the back end, including the linebackers. And I mean, I don't understand these coverages, but it was not. So I think it was a total team effort by the defense, and they were just. I think they won them the Super Bowl. It was just relentless.
Yeah,
I think one thing. I mean, in some ways, it was sweet justice too, because KC was almost like a fake pretenders into the Super Bowl. They statistically didn't have a great year. Their offense for a second year in a row was not good at all, was only average or so. I think they were doing good at not turning the ball over, and their defense was playing pretty legit, pretty solid. So I feel like they could have lost. Casey could have lost so many games during the year, mainly because their opponents screwed up and choked at the last moment, and some with some favorable calls, it kind of hid the deficiencies of the team. And now suddenly, when you're matched up with someone who's like really good, strong on both sides of the ball, it got exposed. And more importantly, someone who didn't choke. I mean, after Jalen Hurts threw that one pick, that could have rattled him. And if he had thrown for more interceptions or whatever, suddenly we would have had a game. But he played. He was clutch. He ran for many first downs. He threw for many first downs. He was very calm, right? Remember, everyone on the broadcast also noticed that. Like throughout, he was extremely calm.
that's exactly that. Brady kind of alluded to that, right? I mean, when you look at the rushing for Jalen Hurts, actually Jalen Hurts was their best rusher. He did
Oh,
go
by
for, yes,
yeah,
he did rush for 72 yards. Obviously, one of them comes through the brotherly shove. But I think he actually outgained the team. The entire team, the rest of the team only rushed for 63 yards. So, I mean, that's why no wonder he gets the MVP. He was 17 for 22 again, very efficient. Only five incompletions, of which you could take one of the interceptions as an incompletion. It goes in that, but pretty much like 17 for 21 kind of thing. Good performance, 221 yards, again, including the 46-yard bomb to pretty much put the game away from, because again, I mean, they did make the comeback. I mean, they scored 22. Eagles had four, it was like 40 to 22, but that 34 to 6 makes a big jump. That really puts a big um, difference, or it made it much more difficult for the comeback to come. I mean, I think when you go back to all the comebacks in Atlanta was up 28 to 3, but they never scored a point after that.
Hmm.
They could have. They should have finished it, kicking a field goal,
Easily, yeah.
but they did. I feel that overall the Eagles were well prepared on both offense and defense. Of course, their 6 sacks, which means like you said, on the defensive pressure was so much that Mahomes didn't really have chances to throw. Of course, towards the end, he was able to make some plays, but I would
But
think at that point, Vic Fangio would probably, and I don't know, he was 0 and 8 against Mahomes until this game. So
right.
so I think for them to come up with the game plan, and I think they probably played some prevent defense. I don't
Oh
sure.
yeah, yeah. And part, I will say this: I think if Mahomes didn't have those interceptions, especially the pick six, essentially they were almost two pick sixes because the other one was on the 10-yard line that Eagles promptly converted into a touchdown.
Hmm.
I think if those drives would have been just punts, good punts, who knows? I still think Eagles would have won because it was clearly looked very one sided. But I don't know, man. You give Andy Reid and Mahomes, and they've proven it. They've been down 10 points, like all their three Super Bowl victories, right? If instead of going 24 nothing, if they'd gone only 10 nothing, 13 nothing, I think we might have had a game. So I do think Mahomes made a bad situation go worse by
I
being
think
maybe
so.
too
Yeah,
aggressive.
and then the chatter. I mean, if Mahomes had won the third time, there was a huge chatter in the media. Again, that's always happens every year about him probably supplanting Brady because he not because of the three-peat that gets him to four. But now he's 3-2, which is same as what Brady was too. Brady was 3-2 until he won the.
A faster path though, right? Because remember
Yes,
now
yes, yeah,
around this time of Brady's career, he had a like after he won his third one, he had a 9 or 10 year gap.
10-year gap. Yes, correct. Absolutely. But and he was 3-2, so they're both at 3-2, if you ask me. And but the thing is that the fact that, but I do think that if you look at the performance that Mahomes had in the first half of the game, just thinking about the first half, where he was 6 for 14 for 33 yards, total of 23 total yards, and I don't think Brady ever had that kind of a performance. And again, it's the defenses are completely different.
I think you're yes, I agree. I think that's fair, but you're looking at just one aspect of it. I mean,
Right.
we are being objective about it. I think Brady reached 3-2 in Super Bowl after he had been a quarterback for 10 years, right? From 10 or 11
Yeah,
years,
and
from
Mahomes is 7 or 8, I think. Yeah.
2000 to 2011, 11 years, right? Whereas Mahomes, I think, right, he's been in the league for 7 or 8 years, something like that. So he still has. You're really doing it that way. He's 3 years, and even if he gets into another Super Bowl, that would, so he's on a faster trajectory, I would say. And mainly, I say this because I mean, there was like Brady also had competition in Manning and Flacco, and and then they lost to random teams like Mark Shantz's Jets in the playoffs, and
Plummer with the Denver Broncos.
a couple of times Broncos, couple of times Ravens. So who's unfortunately nobody is able to step up. I think really the disappointing part is Lamar and Josh Allen have not been able to step up, especially Lamar. Lamar, I think, is way behind Josh on that. Josh has at least
Mhm.
made the AFC Championship, three or two AFC Championship games, right? Lamar, I don't think, has sniffed much. Well, he did
Last
that.
year. Last year.
But these guys have to step up. Burrow and that team has to step up. And I'm I'm hoping we get, as Patriots fans, we get good at some point where we can knock off these guys. But till that happens, I mean, what's stopping these guys from coming again and again? And even if they win 50% of what they appear in, I mean, as long as they keep he's on a faster track right now. Now, he's been remarkably injury free, right? Brady lost a whole freaking season. I would say, in general, this year was the first time I thought they were hit by some injuries. Like, in general, they've been very lucky with injuries.
Hmm.
We'll see. And then how long is Andy Reid going to be there? That's a factor too.
And Kelsey, I think it looks like he may be back for 1 year. I mean, not officially, but there are a lot of open, I would say, a lot of questions for them. I think their offensive line definitely has shown that the Eagles have, I don't know if it's a blueprint. Again, every year we always say there's a blueprint for beating quarterbacks, whether it's a Brady or Mahomes, but it remains to be seen on how this loss would actually impact the next year. Again, you're right. They were lucky with many things this year. They had calls go their way, especially the Raiders one. the Bengals won, and then they had the, like you said, the doink they had to win the division. Then the Denver block, the field
Bills
goal block in Denver
Bills
game.
game. I still think that 4th and 1, it flipped the field, right? Completely. It's like it was going 4th and 1 this way at midfield, and now it's suddenly the other way at midfield. I think that's like a huge swing.
Yeah,
Right?
true.
And who knows? I mean, they probably would have still won because Bills did have a chance. But I'm like, I don't buy this argument of like, oh, Bills had a chance after. Of course they did, but like that already ruined the dynamic of the game, right? Like it literally flipped. It was the equivalent of a fumble, essentially, fumble or a pick, right? It was a turnover on downs, right? It was a turnover. So when a turnover is made on a questionable call, I don't like that at all. So it was very happy. I was very happy to see the chief players complaining about some of the calls they're getting. It was just sweet justice. I
Yeah,
can say
there were
that.
a couple of bad calls against the Chiefs. I mean, the
Well,
the
the game started
Mahomes.
with a bad call against the Eagles, like that AJ Brown thing. Like
Yeah, that was, yeah, it's true. That
that
is true.
was very ticky tacky.
And then there was a call against Mahomes was hit on his face and they didn't
Yeah,
call it. So
yeah, but
which is what was
well, I mean, they literally have gotten non-calls, so it was like fitting justice. It was like actually really satisfying to watch that. All these guys complaining, I'm like, well, this is how the remaining 31 teams feels, buddy. So
interestingly, I think you can say, Mahomes is 0-3 when Brady's in the building. One is AFC Championship, the other one is a Super Bowl, and the next time was
mhm,
when he's calling it.
yeah,
So I think there is that. But anyway, I think Brady did a very good job of calling the game. I thought he did a phenomenal job of calling the game. I mean, I think he got better during the year as well. But I think we move on to the next year. Again, there's a big thing for us as a Patriots fans. The free agency is going to be huge for us in terms of who they're going to get, whether it's T. Higgins or someone else. But I do feel that to your point, I think you make a good point. The rest of the AFC, after watching what the Chiefs just went through against the Eagles, should have some glimmer of hope in terms of challenging the Chiefs in the AFC.
need to have. I mean, obviously, Bills don't have the defensive line to do that, right? Like
Right, right, right.
Mahomes had the best game of the year against them, essentially, in terms of points scored, right? They were really good. So all of these contenders, remaining contenders, I want an even field first of all. Like I don't want all this rep stuff, crap stuff. Like just let them play. And if the Chiefs still come out on top, I'll tip my hat to them. So that's kind of number one. One other dynamic, Sridhar, is going to be so like I think this year Mahomes cap hit is like 66 million. And I think for many of these guys with good quarterbacks, as they get further and further into the contract, because what's been doing is all these teams, they've been renegotiating the deal so that they push the bigger cap hits later and later. So what I don't know is, I mean, I think technically they can continue to do that for 10 more years. I don't think there's anything stopping. So maybe it's not an issue. I don't know what all the rules are, but if there's only a limit to which they can do, then there is a chance that all these teams with highly paid quarterbacks, established quarterbacks, they're going to start seeing an increasingly higher cap hit, which might restrict them from going for other, a lot of other big name contracts. So just something to monitor, which is if
Fair
that happens,
enough.
that could be good news for the Patriots for the next 3-4 years, right? 4 or 5 years. So we'll see. But in reality, it might just be like they'll just keep doing what all these teams. I'm not saying anyone is doing it unfairly. Those are the rules. So they were all playing within the rules. My hunch is teams will continue to do that and they will be able to do that. Maybe this is a non until all these quarterbacks are close to retire.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much like, for us, I mean, we'll look forward to it. I think as we get closer to free agency after the Patriots make moves, I think we'll get on another podcast to pretty much talk about. I think there's still a long way to go there. But I do think that the Chiefs are going in with more. Usually they go in with every year. I mean, the last 2 years, at least since they won the Super Bowl, like Brady used to say this, right? Every time, every team is different. You go always. You don't know what the next team is
Right.
going to be.
Right.
For the first time, I think the Chiefs are going in this off season with a lot more questions than answers.
I don't think they're a very, very solid team. I agree. I agree. I think there's holes in places. I mean, it's actually amazing what they've been able to do. Like in reality, like some of those things, the refs and the opponents joking didn't happen, then who knows? They might. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have made it to the championship game. Also, maybe right? Like who knows? Definitely not the Super. So they have questions, and they've got some free agents coming up, right?
Mhm.
And I get the feeling they don't have like tons and tons of cap space. So who knows? Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think as an NFL fan, I mean, obviously as a Patriots fan, I would love to see the Patriots, but I don't think they're ready to take that big a leap yet. As an NFL fan, I would love to see some two very different teams. Like I don't want to see the Niners or the Eagles on the NFC side. Anyone else is okay, and then I don't want to see the Chiefs. Anyone else is okay, kind of thing, right? It'll be nice, and I really hope this is the year that Buffalo Bills or Ravens they've been so close, and it's hard for them.
Yeah. All right, so that'll be a good wrap because I know we're going to come back and do another one. We have a back-to-back podcast day today. So with this, we wrap up the NFL. Kudos to the Philadelphia Eagles. They had their parade. A lot of craziness happened at the parade, obviously, but I know a few of my coworkers were there at the parade. Said it was as crazy as can be, but the Philadelphia enjoys another Super Bowl, second Super Bowl. I mean, of course, the last one they beat the Patriots, so I think it was 2017, if I believe.
Mhm.
So after 8 years, but I think a lot of Eagles fans are now talking about them being a dynasty. Why not? But let's see if that'll come to fruition as well. Yeah, exactly. They just um, they completely they again, like I said, this is the win in them speaking, but every year is different, like you said, and that is why you have to appreciate what Bill and Brady went through for the Patriots, and the same thing with what Mahomes and Andy Reid have done for the Chiefs. I mean, you have to admire the consistency of how they've been able to do it. So
Yeah.
again,
And one other good thing that might come out of all of this attention on the refs and the calls this year, so I'm hoping there'll be some rule changes where more calls are reviewable, right? Like including especially like pass interference and those kind of things. Some of the really iffy ones. Now, and I've heard people argue that that'll slow down the game further, which I know that can be annoying, but I think teams are still allowed only a certain number of reviews. It's not like we're just saying we're expanding what they can review. We're not changing how many reviews they're allowed. So
right.
hopefully it won't negatively impact the time aspect, but it just you want a level playing field as much as possible, right? You don't want a huge
Yeah.
bunch of fans. I don't think it was just like people in Kansas City's division, like right, like the real rivals who felt that. I think this was a thing, right, that about the
Definitely.
refs Chiefs, right, this year,
Yeah.
maybe even the year before. So something needs to be done to just and you look, I'll be the first one today. Patriots probably got that same. We were blind to it when we were in our dynasty years, and the NFL feels that Patriots got a lot of calls their way as well, which
Yeah,
absolutely
absolutely.
true, right?
We have to
We
admit
obviously
that.
ignored those things, like we didn't even realize those things, right? We assume that that's how the rules are, but it's a judgment call, and it's never going to be perfect, but it's got to be better than what's happening right now. I don't know what the solution is. They got to, at the very least, make more things review.
Absolutely. I think, back in the day, I think even Belichick used to say that every play should be reviewable. I do think that holding is going to be tough, but pass interference calls, these 15-yard penalty calls that, they should be reviewable. And I think they can do a very quick job, a very quick thing like we do in cricket, which will be talked about next. How quick, I mean, I know they do take some time, but I do think that they want to get the game right. And is it perfect? No, but I do think that you can still get
Right.
some of the calls
And
right.
so good examples would be like that against the Houston Texans, right? That Will Anderson call, right? Where he didn't touch him. It looked, I can understand
True.
if ref thought it touched his helmet, right? But then you review it, and when you see that it's not, then you need to pick up the flag. Or
True.
Bill's one, this was about spotting the ball. And I know there's subjectivity there, and it's hard to see when there are so many bodies.
I agree that the starting the ball should have been on the third down, not the fourth down.
Exactly. Well, right. So two times, and my point is, if the commentators are able to say right on live TV that by three quarters of a length of a ball that looked like no, it wasn't that close, right? So, and then the refs, in spite of going to a review, rule otherwise. That I don't know what's happening there. I mean, those things something needs to happen.
Absolutely. Right.
And
Right.
people have spoken about like ball tracking technology. I know it's a little bit of a challenge because it's not just tracking the ball versus the first down mark. Here you're tracking if the ball crosses the first down mark or not, and if it does, then before that the knee was down or not. So they'll have to piece together many things, right? So I'm not saying it's a trivial problem, but with so much technology, man, all around us, it's got to be a way. If they throw money at it, there's got to be a way.
Every other sport can do it. I mean, soccer has been doing it, tennis has been doing it really well. If you ask me, they pretty much
No,
got rid of line
it's a little bit
judges.
easier, right? In tennis, it's
True.
whether the ball crossed the line or not, right?
Correct,
Here,
correct.
it's not only that, but was the knee down, was the player down? Like it's you got to marry those two.
But for NFL, which is the most expensive, I would say
Right.
most richest
Figure
league
Yeah.
in the world, they have to figure it out. Okay. All right. With that, we'll come back with other things at some point once we get closer and closer to free agency and draft and things like that. But thanks, Amit. And this was a good, like I said, Philadelphia, you should be happy. Kansas City, back to the drawing board, and just like every other team.
Mhm.
So with that, we wrap up the Super Bowl review, and looking forward again. Thanks, Amit.
Alrighty. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.